Let's increase the radius a bit more. Let's try 70. We'll do that on all of them. We'll paint them in. And that's getting better. I want a forested look. I just don't want them to be on top of each other, and they're spaced apart. Okay, I think. Let's undo it and let's paint in a larger area and have a look. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. I do want them close together. I do want it to look like a forest. I just don't want them placed right on top of each other. Now, as scaling though, I still feel that they're all a bit too even. Along the top here, I want a bit more variation, so I'm going to just undo and I'm going to make sure our scaling here has changed. So instead of 0.9 to 1.5, let's go 0.9 to 2.5. Oh. In fact, let's go the other way. Let's go 0.6 to 2. We'll do that on all of the plants here. To 2. I'm not sure if you can hear my neighbour next door, but they're moving out, so my apologies if you can hear the guy talking in the background. Okay, let's paint this changed value in and see what we get. Okay, that's better. We're getting a lot more variation in the height here, which is what I want. I don't want them to look like it's all laying flat at one height. We still have our spacing right. I'm just trying to work out if they're still a bit too thick though, because we do want to place some dead versions in it here as well. So I'm going to pull back on the density again. So I'm going to go to, let's go to 4. And again, there's no set value for any of these because it's really going to depend on the actual object itself, the thing that you're painting with, the size that the thing is that you're painting with. Okay, let's try that again. Again, I'm just going to pan around my trees here to check them all. Now you see our trees are sitting at a really weird angle. You'll never, unless a tree's fallen over, you're not going to get a tree growing like that. We can fix that in just a minute. As far as the density goes, I think that's probably okay. Alright, so let's just undo that so we can fix the problem we're having with our trees growing on a weird angle. Just got to check where that setting is. Yeah, we do want to make sure we don't want align to normal turned on, because that means that if you're painting a tree on an angle on a hill like that, it's going to paint a tree aligned to the normal, which means it's going to grow out like that. That tree should be growing up like that. So we want to make sure that align to normal is switched off on the 3 trees that we're painting in. And that'll prevent them from growing at a really weird angle. Okay, let's pull up a bit here and paint some of our trees in. Again, I'm just going to pull up so I can get a better overall look at the level. And remember, I want to avoid going too far into this lid area because I want to make sure that we keep that visible. I don't want to cover it up with trees. I'm just going to paint a few in through here. Okay, now we've got our green living trees painted through, but we want a couple of dead ones in there as well. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull in our 3 dead trees. 2 would probably be enough, but considering we have 3 live trees, we'll use 3 dead trees. And we just want to make sure that the settings are the same. So the density up here will stay the same between our trees, but the actual settings down here will change. So we want 4 and 70. We may actually pull back the density of the dead trees a bit, but we'll see. We'll start with the same settings and we'll go from there. And this one. Okay, we want to make sure we turn off our green trees because we don't want to paint any more of those in. And we'll make sure our dead trees are all checked, and they are. I'm actually going to pull back on the density of the dead trees too, because I don't want as many dead trees as live trees. I want fewer, so I'm going to make the density on those maybe 1.5. Okay, so our trees are selected, they're less dense. Let's start painting some of those in now. Again, we're going to have to wait for the engine to compile the shader. But what I'm noticing immediately is these trees are a lot smaller, so we're going to have to make sure we change our scaling. Again, we've got a minimum and maximum. We're going to go to 0.8 and we'll go up to 2.2. What were we using for these? 0 to 2. We could even go up to 2.5 because a dead tree is going to be a tree that's lived longer, therefore it's going to have grown taller. So we could probably go to 2.5 here for the max. So we've got 0.8 to 2.5. Remember guys, if you have any questions or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If I can help, I'm quite happy to. It doesn't have to be about Unreal, it can be about 3D in general. I've worked in 3D for more than 10 years, so if I can help, I'm happy to try. Okay, so we have all of our settings correct there. Again, let's pull it. Now you see what's happening here when I go above a certain height? The color changes. That's because I'm using a custom LUT. And as soon as I go outside of that yellow box, it defaults to Unreal's default colors. But I use a custom LUT to get a more realistic coloring. So if you're wondering why it's changing color when I go too high, that's the reason. That's the default color that Unreal comes with, and that's my custom LUT color. Let's paint some of these trees in. Again, I'm going to have to wait for the shader to compile. So I'm just going to let it sit there for a minute while it compiles its shader before I start painting in it anymore, so I can check how it looks. And I am using Unreal Engine 4.15.2, which is the latest version that Epic have released. Do remember guys, Unreal is completely free to download and use, so I'm on Twitch to encourage you guys to do 3D, so download the program, play with it, see what you can create. It's fun to do. And you never know what you can do until you try, so I want you guys to do 3D. It's a fun thing to be doing. And if you want to get into doing it for a living, the more practice you get, the better you'll become. Again, let's wait for our shaders here. While it's doing that, I'm just going to keep an eye on my OBS and my internet connection here. It's not always the way. My internet's been stable up until the day I want to stream, and then it cut out. C'est la vie. It just makes me paranoid now to make sure it's all working. So again, if you were watching before and I cut out, apologies for that. It was not my fault. My ISP went down. My DSL connection went down. Okay, shader's nearly done compiling. There we go. Alright. So let's just pull up a bit here. Just going to paint a couple more through here. I don't want too many dead trees in here, I just want a few. Again, just to make it look a little bit more natural, not so that like the forest is all completely green. Alright. So let's look at what we've done here. We've painted in our rocks here at the beginning with some ferns and some grass. We've placed some trees along the side of the hills here. Again, I'm not painting them in really thick. They're thick enough on their own. I'm avoiding painting any trees through this section here. I'm just going to get out of paint mode for a minute because I don't want to cover up that glowing background that's behind our pond. But we're looking at our hills here and we can see our hills are looking a bit bare. So let's fix those up a bit. So I think that's enough dead trees, just a few here and there. Let's paint in some grass. Let's go back into our paint tool. And I think I've actually got another bushy thing here as well that I want to bring in, which is the snakeweed cluster. I'm going to pull that in. Now I'm going to turn off my trees because I don't want to be painting any more of those by mistake. I'm going to make sure my snakeweed cluster here is turned on. It is. Everything else is turned off. My density, I want, we'll see how we go. We don't want to pull it up too high. I'm just going to paint a couple of those in and see what that looks like. Again, we're going to wait for the shader to recompile because it's the first time we've used the tree, the bush, so the engine has to make sure that it has to recompile the shader if it's something new. I also want to check the size of these. These are, they're like bushy, weedy, flowering bushes. The best way to describe them. It's called snakeweed. And you generally find it in a drier climate, but it doesn't mean we can't use it here in our forest, just to give it a bit more interest. Alright, now I'm just going to pull down and pull in here and have a look. Now, I actually think they're a bit small. I mean, they're not bad, but I think they could be a bit bigger, so I'm just going to undo that paint. Make sure that we have our snakeweed selected. And again, we're going to change our minimum and maximum scaling so that they all look a bit more unique. We'll leave it at, actually we'll go up to 1.5 on the minimum, makes them a bit bigger. And for the maximum, we'll go up to 3.2. I'm going to pull back on the density a bit as well. I think I'll go to maybe 50. And we'll give the radius of maybe 10. Let's see what that does. I'm also going to pull back on my brush size here because I want more control over where I place them. Okay, now I think they're a bit big. That's okay, you can undo it. Let's go to 0.9 and up to maybe 2.2. Paint them in. That's looking a bit better. They're a bit more to scale now with the grass next to them and the trees in the background. Alright, so let's just angle our camera down here and paint some of these here through the background, just here and there. Again, I'm not covering the entire hillside with these snakeweed trees. I'm just placing bunches of them here and there. That alteration in colour is something that the engine does automatically when you use the paint tool, just to give each plant a little bit more of a unique look. Paint some up here. Again, I want to avoid going past the edge of our tree line here. That's okay, we can paint some through the gully here, and up on here. Maybe some through here. And because they're flowering and they're yellow, it'll add a nice visual interest to our hillside here. Alright, I'm not going to go too much higher up, simply because, like I said, I want to avoid going past our tree line. Although they're probably a good object to place here underneath of our sunset so we don't accidentally block it, but we'll come to that in a minute. Alright, so we have our snakeweed painted in. I might just put a couple through here. Maybe a couple through here. Alright, let's switch back now to some of the grass that we have in our level. I'm just going to remember which one's which. I think we want to start with the rough grass, so I want to make sure I turn off my snakeweed and turn on my longer grass. So it's the only thing selected here. And let's just move into our landscape and start painting in some grass. I'm doing the same thing. I'm not holding my mouse button down. I'm just clicking here and there to paint some grass in individually, like bunches individually. Come behind the tree line here and paint them in. Again, that'll just help cover up the horizon line. Okay, let's go back into our forest here and paint some grass through. Remember, we did all that texture painting on the landscape, so we don't want to cover completely all of that nice rock work that we painted in. Pull into my forest here to grab any areas I may have missed. Even though we're probably not going to see much in here when we do our cinematic, because the camera is going to stay on the actual driveway. You may see through the tree, so we want to make sure that we've got some coverage going on in through here. Maybe some on top of the rock here. Okay, we need it through here. We do want to make sure align to normal is turned on with this grass, because we do want it to follow the direction of the underlying terrain. You'd only turn off align to normal for trees, really. Okay, let's switch over to the other grass that we have here now, which is this one here. It's a shorter grass. I want to make sure I turn that one off. Let's look at our scaling here. We've got 1.523, which should be good. Okay, I'm just checking our density. That should be okay. Actually, I'm going to pull up on my paint density here for these smaller ones. There. Hey Sniper Echo, how's it going? Good to see you. We're just painting in some of our vegetation. I am very good, I hope you're very well as well. And it's always good to see you, Sniper Echo. My stream went offline when I first started streaming, my internet connection went down, so. But we're back. Cool. Alright, now this grass is smaller grass that's growing amongst the larger tufts of grass that we have everywhere. Again, I'm not painting, I'm just painting here and there, not holding my mouse button down while I paint, but just clicking here and there to fill in some areas. Because I don't want to cover up all of that rock work we did when we did our texturing. We want to look at our horizon line here, or where our driveway meets the actual hillside itself. And at the front here, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go in and just individually scale up a couple of these tufts of grass to make them look a bit more different from each other. And again, you can get the engine to do this, but I prefer to do it by hand. So I like to have that control over how it's going to look. So that's the, if you guys are wondering why I haven't had my break for coffee, I won't do it because the first 20 minutes of the stream were a bit of a no-go because of the crash, or because of the ISP dropping out. So we'll keep going. I'll just have to drink my cold coffee. Alright. Again, I'm doing this just to break up the silhouette of the shorter grass. I'm more concerned with it through the front here on the driveway because the camera will be sweeping up here. So we're more likely to see it as opposed to at the back there. Okay, again, we haven't painted our texture for our drive yet, so don't pay any attention to this repeating pattern we're seeing. Yeah, it's all going to be painted over. So let's paint in our grass so it meets up with our pond that we've got going here. Okay, so we move back to the paint tool, make sure that we have our grass selected. I'll continue painting it in. I should grab the fresh coffee. It's okay. The cold one's alright. I can make do. It's only another half an hour, so that's cool. Now let's paint grass meeting our pond that we've got, but we want to paint in some longer grass as well. So I know it can get a bit difficult for you guys to see. It's even difficult for me because we have that I don't know what they call that post-process going on Unreal, where if you look at the sky it gets darker, that type of thing. So I know it can be difficult sometimes when I get to look at the sun and we look back here, it looks dark. But if we just wait for the camera, it'll adjust again. We're going to go back to our longer grass though and turn off the shorter one. We're going to paint some of that through here as well. Because I want the longer grass to meet up with the long grass we've got going on here in our pond. Okay, again, I'm just going to turn the camera this way so it doesn't darken up too much. We can see what we're doing. I think the bloom is actually here. So it's under show, post-processing, bloom. You can turn it off there. I like to keep it on because it's going to be on when I actually finish the level, and I want to make sure that what I'm doing looks correct. I like to see the overall look as I'm doing it, as opposed to doing it, then turning bloom on and looking at it. I find having the bloom going while I'm working can help me to get things to work correctly, to look right, like when I'm doing my scaling and stuff. But if you're finding it's annoying, yeah, certainly turn it off. Yeah, just like here, for instance, while I'm painting the grass in, with the bloom going, I can see what it's going to look like and make some adjustments if I need to. Like, I'm going to actually make a couple of these grass pieces bigger. And having the bloom going while I'm doing that can help me to get a better overall look at what the scene's going to look like. Pop one through here. Again, just at random, I'm just selecting them at random and making some of them a bit bigger. I'm not making any of them smaller, but I'm just choosing a couple here and there to make bigger. Again, just to give us that variation in the look so that the silhouette isn't all completely flat along the top. You'll notice I didn't do that with these cattail things. You could, but because we added enough variation in the min and max when we were painting them in, we probably don't need to. But the grass particularly, because grass is always going to grow at different heights depending on the area it's growing in. So you never, unless it's mowed with a mower, you're never going to get it looking completely flat. So you always want to make sure that some bits are higher or bigger than others. I'm doing that for the browner, shorter grass as well. Thanks, Sniper Echo. We're getting there. We've only just started doing our landscaping on the sides here. Again, I don't think you were here for the beginning of the stream, this was a pond section I created because I thought this side of the hill here needed a bit more interest. So I thought if we added a small section of water, because water is always a good thing to include in a render. I always like to use water in renders when I do them because you can get some really nice reflection. It just helps to make the scene look more natural, more interesting, because the reflections you get off water can always be a really interesting feature. The same goes for when you're doing a rendering. That's why I like to use water in renders. And again, we've just got our spherical scene capture here to get the reflection happening of our environment in our water. I've actually turned off atmospheric fog, but I'll turn it back on in just a minute because it can help to really add a lot of realism and interest to the scene as well. But before we turn it back on, I just want to make sure that our assets here are looking correct. We have our wind going on all of our objects, which is good. I've left parts of the landscape not covered because, like I said, I don't want to completely hide that texturing work we did when we were painting in the actual hills.